Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to have lots of tips on how to work with graphite, how to layer the graphite pencils to enhance the level of realism in our drawings. Now my first step is to just begin with a HB pencil where I am looking to map in more of the accurate shape and size of the elements in that drawing. So initially I do like to begin with the eyes, but you will see that I use this approach throughout every section that I work on. Now once I'm happy with that and the proportions are exactly where they need to be, then I can start to build up the values in stages. This is one of the most important aspects when working with graphite pencils to enhance the level of depth achieved. I don't ever like to work with one dark pencil if I have got a particularly dark shadow. I do always like to build that up one layer at a time. Now there are a couple advantages to doing that, but one of those is making sure then that I've got a range of my darker tones. Rather than just using one pencil for everything, those shadows of course are going to look very similar across all areas of the drawing. And when working with a high level of realism, it's this variation that's going to help add more of that natural look to the artwork. Now on to the next stage, and this is where I'm considering my base layer. This for me is a crucial fundamental stage, and I always want to give it as much time as it needs to get it exactly where it should before I consider the details. Now for me personally, this is more about mapping in my main lights and darks first, but with the understanding that graphite powder is never going to be as dark as the pencils will achieve. So this simply is that mapping in process just to simplify that reference photo. There are many advantages to working with graphite powder, one of which is the immediate softness that it does create. I do feel that this does help then to capture a little bit more of that softness, the shading that I'm now reinforcing with my graphite pencils. And the graphite powder layer, it can technically be done with the graphite pencils, but it does take significantly longer in order to get that same level of softness. As I'm starting to build up my pencil layers here, again, I'm not jumping into those darkest pencils first. And what this enables me to do as well is make sure that I've focused on my midtones just as much as the brighter highlights and darker shadows. The midtones can sometimes get rushed over or forgotten about entirely, and then the artwork doesn't have that softness that it needs. Take something like the frog or the toad skin, where it does have a little bit more of that bumpier texture. If I don't capture softness first, then that texture is going to look too gritty. It will look far too harsh. So even though the textures might appear to be bumpier, I would still always focus on something that looks a little bit out of focus initially, like this current stage. Once I do have that desired level of softness, then I can start putting in some texture. I have a couple of options for this. First of all, here I'm using a battery eraser, but I can then switch over to a Tombow mono eraser. I've got my putty eraser. There are a few different examples of the erasers depending on the texture of the highlights, and that is something that I will mention and cover throughout this video. I do like using the battery eraser because, as you can see, it can tidy up areas very quickly, but sometimes there is a downside in that it will remove too much graphite. If those highlights are too bright, that could actually alter the shape of the animal. The placement of the highlights and shadows, how bright or dark they are, this is everything that's going to help reinforce that shape and form. If a highlight is added where it shouldn't be, then it can actually maybe create the impression of a lump under the skin, something there that's not actually necessary or relevant to that reference photo. And of course, these animals are going to have very different structures depending on the species. So if there is a light or dark variation there, it is so important to make sure we've captured that, as long as it's not something that shouldn't be there. An example of that would be if there was maybe some debris on the face that was stuck to the skin. We have that artistic license that we can remove those kinds of shadows or highlights. But as a general rule, if it is part of that animal and it serves as that anatomy under the skin, then I'm always anxious to make sure that I have captured that. So as I have continued to work with my base layer, now I'm ready to start working with some of the highlights. And again, I'm using a different eraser. This is that putty eraser, and I do prefer this approach when I'm trying to create more softness. You can really see the difference between how harsh the battery eraser was in comparison to this. So having the multiple options of the various pencils and the erasers, it really does complement the techniques for this level of realism nicely. This of course can also be enhanced upon, so if I feel like my highlights need to be brighter, I can go back over with my additional more harsher techniques with the battery or the Tombow mono eraser. As a general rule, my Tombow mono eraser I do prefer for creating line highlights, so such as fur or feathers, but it can certainly be used here if you dab with that. There's going to be a range of techniques that we can use for each individual eraser, depending on the desired texture that we're trying to capture. Another reason why I love working with graphite powder is how easily the erasers can lift that from the surface. You can see with this putty that I'm able to create some really nice soft muted highlights, and this would be harder to do, not impossible, but harder to do if working with graphite pencils for my base foundation. I will of course use my pencils here to adjust my contrast because the graphite powder is not dark enough. But being able to pull in some highlights first of all just gives that reassurance throughout that layering process. Now, one of the common problems with the base layer not being dark enough is that the highlights on top are also still going to look fairly flat. The drawing's going to have more of a two-dimensional look. And although I'm building up some texture here, this part of the body, it does still look a bit flat, and that's because I don't have my shadows dark enough and I therefore don't have my highlights bright enough. When I'm working with a particularly bright highlight, I will usually allow the white of the paper to show through. I therefore know that I have got that as bright as I can get it. However, if the darker values next to it aren't dark enough, that white highlight is still going to look fairly muted, and that's because it doesn't have the dark value, those darker tones, to back up the highlight. As I'm starting to darken up the rest of this base foundation, you can see that the lighter sections that were mapped in with the putty are automatically looking lighter, despite the fact that I haven't used another eraser. I will of course be coming back in with my brighter erasers to remove more of that graphite, but the foundation of getting my values dark enough is my priority at this stage. When drawing realism, there is a lot that we need to think about in terms of the different stages, the various layers, how we should hold the pencil, how much pressure we should use, the tip of the pencil. It can potentially be quite overwhelming. Now, I like to break it up into small sections and then one layer at a time. And in my real-time versions of these tutorials, I have a voiceover while I'm drawing, so everything is explained thoroughly in the moment. If I move the way that I'm holding that pencil, if I make any slight adjustment, it's always mentioned at the time, because something that might feel quite minor can have a big impact to what we're creating. If any of my real-time step-by-step lessons are of interest, I'll link the information to those in the description below. Included in the description is also a link to the library where you can have a full list of all tutorials. You can see exactly what is there before you sign up. It's also very flexible, so you can stay for as long as you like or you can cancel at any time. Moving on to the legs here, I do want to be making sure that, again, I'm mapping in the lights and the darks. This is going to help make sense of that reference photo. I do personally find that when drawing hands, feet, anything like this, it can very quickly start to drift away from that reference photo. One way that I like to pinpoint that is to make sure that I'm very precise with exactly where I need to put these shadows. You can already see that this is actually giving a lot of the shaping to the leg, and given how this initially doesn't even really look like a leg because it's being put behind the animal and then sort of perched underneath, this here could very quickly start to be where our brain draws what we think it should look like. One aspect here is that when we start to have that mindset and we do drift further away from that reference photo, it can be harder to fix. So one thing that can help prevent that entirely is you can turn your artwork upside down, turn your reference photo upside down, and your brain will be forced to see it more for abstract shapes. Once you've got everything mapped in and you turn it all back up the right way, you'll find then that's likely more accurate to that reference photo. If you are having areas where you keep making the same mistake, again, turning everything up the other way can work. And because I know that this area, any of the legs, the hands, it might potentially get that overwhelming feeling, I don't draw all of the legs at the same time. I always want to make sure that sometimes it's just one toe at a time. If I can do that, I find I actually work far quicker and more productively. If I start to get flustered within that drawing process, it's that where we can start to doubt ourselves, we hesitate, and we give more time to then second guess. If I am breaking this up into small sections, then I personally know that I'm less likely to have that happen. There are, of course, many different ways to get to the same end, and if you do find working in one whole individual layer, such as the entire base foundation of the animal, and then your next detailed layer and so on, if that works for you, then there's no reason to change. But if you do start to hesitate in that drawing process, you are starting to get very overwhelmed, confused with where you should be working. Scaling that down into maybe 1 square inch at a time just means then that we've got less that we need to worry about. We can only focus on that one area, get that 80-90% complete and move on. Slowly piecing the puzzle together can really help keep that motivation going. When drawing feet like this, the other thing to consider is that once the foreground or the ground that we are including in the artwork is mapped in, that will help with the softening of the edges of the feet and the toes. For this project, I was only going to put a very simple shadow underneath, but that still is enough to make that distraction from the feet and it looks less prominent. At the moment, the hands are very obvious because I don't have that softness of the shadow. So in some situations, we might feel like it's not quite right, maybe we've drawn it wrong, but it could just be that we don't have the other element in next to it to help bridge everything together. If ever I'm looking at a drawing and I feel like something's not quite right, but I don't really know what it is, I will continue to work on the area next to it rather than take the time to make those changes. The only reason being, those changes might not actually be necessary, and once we've got the area drawn in next to it, the other area is fine, it doesn't need to be adjusted. It's then those times where we might actually be making alterations unnecessarily, adding that extra drawing time to the process. I actually really enjoyed working on this foot because this at the moment, it doesn't look like a foot at all. It's got more of a starfish shape. But by working with these small areas, mapping in my main shadows first, I'm now starting to make more sense and keep that accuracy in that drawing. But if I'd have continued now to work on one layer for the entire foot and then build up in stages like that, I probably know here that I'm actually going to end up with the toes taking on a very different shape. I could potentially have spent far longer on this area and get very overwhelmed in the process. Now when zooming out like this, it doesn't necessarily for me look finished because it does appear like it's floating, and this is why I would always want to add shadow, grass, something underneath to help ground that to the paper. And I just used my graphite powder here, an eye makeup applicator, to create this shadow. It's very quick but highly effective, and another reason why I love working with graphite powder. So the last few minutes of any portrait is just tidying up the contrast, making shadows darker, any highlights brighter, and maybe just adding those last finishing touches. So I do hope this video has been useful. If it was, I'd be very grateful if you could give it a like and a thumbs up. It makes a huge difference to my channel. I do also upload a couple of videos to YouTube every week, so if you would like to get notified of that content, then don't forget to hit the subscribe and the bell button. If you would like to draw along to the real-time version of this tutorial, I'll link all of the information to that in the description below. If you have any art-related questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. I'm always happy to help if I can. And I'm going to be uploading another video next week. But as always, thank you so much for watching.